Our goal is in every village we have 3, 4 kids who are immensely successful. They will then motivate other children to aspire for similar success. And we are seeing that constantly. Our children are role models for others. And if there are 100 schools like ours, the face of the country would change. The caste system itself will break down. So I am very much of an optimist that somehow this will happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe it will. Others will carry the mission forward, and there will be social justice for all people.
I'd like to kind of lay a foundation around your background, and I want to get into your mission. And it's just incredibly inspiring, the mission and the work that you're doing. So what led to you joining the military? And I'd love to hear a little bit about the story of how you almost got yourself blown up with the dynamite going off.
Well, joining the military was just happenstance. I was watching the soldiers marching on a parade ground in front of my grandfather's house, and I got excited about it and asked my parents. They said, "Okay, that's what you want to do. Join the academy to train you as an officer." And that's all. Nothing else exciting happened. And then in India, to become an officer, you have to go through 4.5 years of training in 2 different academies, and then specialized training to be an artillery officer. Soon after that, I was sent to the Chinese border. This was after the invasion by China in the early 1960s. And I was sent up there with a few soldiers to establish gun positions along the border, the Tibetan border, very high altitude, it's 14,000 feet above sea level. At the time, it was classified as the highest mountain, highest altitude, battleground in the world. Anyway, I was there for 11 months, and many things happened during those 11 months. But at the end of 11 months, while I was lighting detonators to blow the rocks using dynamite, I didn't notice the fuse wire catching, fire. And last second, I noticed, I turned around and jumped, but it was just a little too late, and I was badly injured, and I was sent home. And I asked myself the question, why was I spared? If I was even less than a second, I would have been killed. So that was one of my motivations for doing what I'm doing today, apart from a couple of books I read while I was on mountain top. One was by Bertrand Russell, on the Western philosophy, and the other by the gentleman who went to Gabon, Albert Schweitzer. He won a Nobel Prize, and he established a hospital in Gabon, and that also was for an 18-year-old young man. It was really amazing, and I made up my mind that I'll spend the next many years, make money, and then I'll use that money to do social work. And that's how I ended up where I am today.
Okay. And the company you built, the Multinational Computer Models, Inc., MCM, what was that like? What inspired you to start that? And I think you ran that, was it for about 28 years, 25 years, something like that?
Right, 25, 26 years. Well, I worked for JP Morgan for a couple of years, and I designed some computerized system. Remember those days, there was no PCs or anything like that. And but we were, the corporate world was trying to use computers for decision making. And in the international financial arena, corporate finance, there weren't any systems as such. And I, with my background, academic background, I designed what I thought would be useful to corporations in managing financial risk in international arena. And he did very well. And after 3 years, uh, I thought I'll do my own. I started my own company, which then took many years to really get established from the basement of my apartment. And later on, it became a market leader. At the end of 25 years, the company was doing fairly well. I had made some money. I thought I'll sell the business and embark on what I had promised myself in the Himalayas.
Okay. And you sold it, that was around 90,
1995.
95. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so now you're back in India, and the first venture to really make a difference, was it getting lead out of the atmosphere and water, or was it the Shanti Bhavan school, or is it both at the same time?
Uh, it was Shanti Bhavan. My thought at that time was that if children from the poorest of the poor are to have a successful life, a future, they must have the opportunity for a good education. And no point in talking to people who are well off or call themselves upper caste, telling them to treat people from the poorest segment of the society who are also classified as low caste. In India, it's a caste system. Um, and I felt the path to social justice, the path to social justice is through economic opportunity. And economic opportunity comes from good education. So it was natural for me to embark on offering uh, the best education and upbringing for children from the age of 4. And that's what I did. Um, and so I have children I take from very poor homes at the age of 4, and they are with me for 10 months in a year. 2 months they go home on vacation, and I bring them up. And I've been doing that for 30 years. And I was of the belief that if you offer the best, they too will succeed. Doesn't matter what their background is, whether they're so-called low caste or poor, or it doesn't matter. They too will succeed just like those from the affluent society. So that's what I did. And after many years, my belief uh, turned out to be true. The children are now working in top multinational companies, and many are studying in the United States in colleges like Stanford, Duke, Princeton, Middlebury, and so on. So this has never happened in the history of India, where children from the poorest of the poor achieve this height, from one room hut to Ivy League. And so that has been an exciting, expedition.
Yeah, it's incredible. For our listeners that aren't completely familiar with the caste system, can you give an overview of maybe how long it's been in place and what that looks like? Because I think in the lower caste, the lowest level, I think there are four, right? Where there's something like 300 million Indian
That's right.
citizens that are in that. It's incredibly huge. So yeah, give us an overview, please.
Yes, in India, the caste system has its origin almost 1,500 years ago. Certain people made certain others work for them. And the lowest caste are those who did menial labor like cleaning the latrine, burying the dead animals, and so on. And they were called the untouchables. They could enter your house, they could eat from the same plates, and so on. And they had gone through this kind of degrading treatment for all those years. And by virtue of being extremely poor, they couldn't send their children to any good schools. In fact, they never sent them to school. And so they remained in the same socioeconomic situation. And the caste system still persists even today. The only thing is government has put some conditions that quota system, quotas for 15% in government jobs and so on. That is there, but you can't change the mindset of people. If they are prejudiced, they are prejudiced, and uh, and how do you break it? My theory was they will break it on their own, not by government giving something, but the children themselves through their accomplishments, their success. They will go on to great jobs. Then very soon their children, nobody will know whether they came from low caste or upper caste. And in one generation, they would have broken the caste system, which couldn't be broken in 1,500 years. And that is happening today with my children.
Yeah. Netflix recorded a mini series, 4 hour sessions, and I think it came out in 2017. And I watched all four of them the last couple of days. And for the listeners, it is incredibly moving. Like, it really captures the conditions and the change in the students as they advance through your program at Shanti Bhavan. So anybody that wants to learn more about this, I highly encourage that they watch that miniseries on Netflix. Daughters of Destiny is what it's called. What was that like? Did they approach you? And it took 7 years to film all of it. Did you approach them? Did they approach you? What was that like?
So, one of the Academy Award winners, Vanessa Roth, whose father happens to be the screenwriter for uh, one of the movies in Hollywood, and I forgot the movie. She heard about it. She came to Shanti Bhavan to experience for herself, and then she asked me whether she would be allowed to film the lives of the children in this four girls. And she approached Netflix. Netflix gave her enough money and hired two sets of crews, one American and one Indian, camera crews and sound crew, and put them with us. For 7 years, they were living with us. After a while, we didn't know whether they were camera crew or part of our own staff. And they were just shooting all the time. And we didn't even bother about that. And the children were growing in the meantime, right? 7 years. And so it is their story, their family, the two worlds they live in. They live in absolute poverty at home and then a modern life in the school, Shanti Bhavan, our school, and how we are transforming their outlook towards, modern living and their ambitions, all that. And because we get them at the age of 4, we are able to make a big impact. And by the time they finish 12th grade, that is 14 years, preschool, kindergarten, 14 years. And then we send them to college for another 3 years. Some of them go on to master's degrees, so there'll be another 2 years. One kid has gone for a PhD, so another 6 years. So we support them through all this process. And uh, all I can say is uh, the results have been incredible. Uh,
That
Motivate them, and they will do. They have a burning desire inside them to succeed in life.
Yeah, I love it when you go to the website and it says from invisible to unstoppable, and you certainly got that feeling and the impact of it when you watch Daughters of Destiny. How do you select? And as I understand it, you would pick one child from each family. If they have 3 or 4 kids, you wouldn't take all 3 or 4, but just
No,
one. How do you select going through?
yeah, the children have to be between 3.5 and 4.5 years of age. So by definition, only one child will fit in that, out in the family. And secondly, we want to spread the benefit to as many families as possible. We don't want all the benefit going to one family by having more than one child. So we don't even allow cousins to be taken. So we have been able to spread the benefit to some 50, 60 villages. And now with the second school opened last year, we are able to double that to more villages. Our goal is in every village we have three, four kids who are immensely successful. They will then motivate other children to aspire for a similar success, and we are seeing that constantly. Our children are role models for others, and if there are 100 schools like ours, the face of the country would change. The caste system itself will break down. So I am very much of an optimist that somehow this will happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe it will. Others will carry the mission forward, and there will be social justice for all people.
Yeah, big things always have smaller beginnings, and I would say you're off and running well. And I hope you get to way more than 100 schools across India in these villages. That would be amazing. How do you measure impact now? When you go to the website, I can see all kinds of different stats about how much of the income they give back to the families and the difference they're making. But yeah, how do you measure impact? And I'd love to hear a couple of stories around transformational changes in a family once one of your students is able to actually give back to the family.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question because in the NGO world, non government organization world, the donors expect results within a year. They give some money, they want to see some results. How many people got benefited? And they want to see the numbers. How many? In our case, that is not possible. We have to wait for 14, 16, 18 years for the results to come out. And the test that we say, compare the results of the other program where you want some output within a year or two. Where are they 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Have their families changed at all? Their condition changed? Have the caste system broken down? Compare that with our children. Our children are able to build nice homes for them, modest but nice homes. There is food in the family, their clothing, medical care, everything. So the families change. Their siblings are going to school. Their sisters are able to get married. India, there is a dowry system and so on. And they're able to pay for it. And, and the the kids who go through our program, they are in top institutions, Microsoft, Cisco, Exxon, and so on. So the results are very qualitative. It's not the numbers. I'm not turning out thousands and thousands of kids through schools who then don't have great accomplishments. I would like to see these kids transforming society through what I call a multiplicative effect. They touch 10 others, those 10 touch another 10 others. And before you know, hundreds and hundreds of children from different families, just theirs alone, are benefited by the program.
Yeah, after 30 years, I would think that you've touched in some way, in a positive way, tens of thousands of people, which is incredible. And you're taking, as I understand it, 30 students in each year.
Now
So you
60, now 60,
now
60
six.
students. Yes.
Okay, so you can have 600 to 720 going through the system at any time.
Correct, correct. Yes, and if we are able to open more schools, then obviously the benefit will be big. And the mission we give our children when they are growing up with us, that you are beneficiaries of other people's generosity, their kindness towards you, and many of them have never met you, and so you have a moral obligations to do the same thing for other children. So lifetime, in your lifetime, you must help 100 others. So if each of my kids helps 100 others, and they in turn help others, then the multiplicative effect can be tremendous.
Yeah. Just to give a sense of it, for the 300 million or so citizens living in the lower caste, Um, what do they in American dollars, U.S. dollars? Uh, what do they live on a daily basis, monthly basis, approximately?
Initially, our criteria for selection of a child was $2 per day per family of three. $2. That was, if someone was earning more than $2, we wouldn't take. Today, I've raised it to $5 a day for a family of three or four. So for $5, you can barely get a Starbucks coffee, right? So it's a very, very hard living for them. They are in tiny little huts, no kitchen, no bathroom in their you know in their homes. They go outside, so they are struggling. But they have not seen anything better, and so the quality of life is very, very low. But once our children start earning, that suddenly changes. They are able to improve the house or move them to a better house, and meet all the essentials of a comfortable life, not a luxurious life, a reasonably comfortable life.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think most Americans understand the difference. I think they take for granted what we have over here, significantly on that. So what's the annual budget for Shanti Bhavan for one school?
Okay. So currently, the first school is spending just over $1 million, $1.2 million a year. The current school, and the second school obviously will increase that cost. May not double because there are certain things that are common shared by both schools. So very soon our budget will be $1.5 million. But that is the operating cost. There's a lot of construction going on for the second school. It will take another 4 or 5 years before that is completed, and then constantly improving on the infrastructure. For example, the first school is more than 25 years, so a lot of things are broken down. So you have to renovate it. The capital expenditures outside of that, what I said, 1.2 million is the operating expense. But when you calculate what it is costing, it is $2,500 per child per year to for everything: food, clothing, residential, medical, recreational, everything. The whole caring is $2,500. So, and that is a good price to pay for getting what we are getting in return.
That is incredibly inexpensive in the U.S. to have that kind of an impact. The total budget, the cost per child per year, all of it. Um, you described, I've watched a number of your interviews in addition to Daughters of Destiny, and I've heard you describe 2008 and what a struggle that was. Because as I understood it, you thought you could do this all with the money that you built up. And in 2008, a lot of people, struggled with that economic downturn. How did you get through that? What did you learn, and how did you build up the philanthropic support to keep this thing going and growing?
I thought I had made enough money, but I'm not Bill Gates or something. I made a reasonable amount of money. So when I sold my business and the profits we had, and I was growing at the rate of more than 50% a year. The company was doing very well, was a market leader in our narrow field. But I couldn't wait any longer. I was getting old. And so I decided to sell everything, stop all my consulting activities. And with the money I had, I came to India and spent some 10, $15 million on infrastructure, land, everything else that I had to do. I used up quite a bit, but I still had enough money left over. But I made some very major mistakes, and I thought land by the ocean side will always have value because, there's only so much of land by the ocean, right? Then here comes Katrina, then comes something else, and the subprime mortgage. And the value of all those properties fell by 50, 60%. I couldn't even sell them. And that is one thing happened. The second big mistake I made, I thought technology was the future. And if I invest in Microsoft, Cisco, Oracle, and so on, I can never lose. And if you look at the 2008 prices of these stocks, they fell 60% from their peaks. And here I am, running into trouble with the brokers, and I had to literally sell all my stock at less than cost. I had to sell my properties, literally give it to the bank to sell it. And so I wiped out all my except for a little money left to live. And luckily, my wife had a good job, so we could support ourselves. But all the money that I had uh, brought to India for the school, that sustained it. In the meantime, my first son, Ajay, who is now the chief operating officer, he started the fundraising. So first 15 years, I didn't do any fundraising. I was living off my own. And he started, but fortunately, the world saw what I had already done. So fundraising wasn't uh, as hard as it would have been if I was asking people for money right at the beginning itself. Here I am with a lot of children already in place. The infrastructure was there for the first school, or at least a good part of it. And so there were more people willing to donate. And that got it going. And then I had a journalism school that was generating profits from its enrollment, which I could. It's a non-profit organization, but I could put that into this school and support it. So a number of different ways I supported Shanti Bhavan through the crisis. And today, because of the generosity of people, and by the way, I just want to say generosity mostly of Americans, Amer- not, the more donors are from America. 75% of donations come from the United States. And a good number of them have not even been here. They have watched the movies, some of them, and they have been kind enough. And it has really helped me only overcome what I faced, but start the second school. So this has been an amazing turnaround within 10 years of since I fell into difficulties.
Yeah, and why did you not ask for money early on? Was it a sense of pride you shouldn't have to do that? What was your thinking not to
Oh,
start that
no.
part of it early? Yeah.
I was aware that people were not buying into my idea that children from the poorest to the poor have the capacity to learn. They can succeed. When I started my board of directors, established my board of directors, they were, chairman of this company, admiral of the Indian Navy, and so on. They said, "You're wasting your money. These kids just don't have the capacity." And so I felt if I'm going to do the way I thought should be done, uh, I am not going to be able to get the support. And I thought I had made enough money also, in my company. So first 15 years, I did it my way. And that was actually, in one sense, it was good because I was able to do what I wanted to do. I didn't have to take 10 people's permission. But of course, you can't sustain unless you are extremely rich an operation like this without the public support. And after 15 years, when I got into trouble, we reached out to others. Today, we have a very wide network of donors, and that actually is a stronger model than what I had originally. To have a lot of people. participating in the effort, and that's where we are today.
Yeah, all of these efforts have to be sustainable. You have a sustainable business model and a for-profit business. Well, the nonprofit impact, it also has to be sustainable. And the reason that I've been excited to have this conversation with you is I started something called Dinner Table, and my goal is to help parents, families raise kids to create value in the world. And I started doing this, Dr. George, because about 10 years ago, when I got involved in trying to improve education in Arizona for K 12 students,
Okay.
whenever we went to the state legislature, it was always adults fighting over money and contracts. It was never about the kids. And I thought, well, let's build a community of parents raising kids to create value. And looking at when they launch into adulthood, what character traits, what capabilities, and what beliefs will make them most successful. And so I'm a little over a year into this journey, and I'm personally now I've ramped up to about $100,000 a month. I'm pouring into it, and I'm going into underserved communities. I mean, this works for all families everywhere. But I actually think, and my background, I came from, by American standards, a very low income family, always had food, no issues. But I think the largest pent up, untapped value creation potential in America is in the low income family kids because they have the drive. And there's all of this entitlement that's happening for all the reasons that we know with kids from, upper middle class and above families. So these low income, I think that's where it's at, and I'm leaning into it. And I'm kind of I'm 63. I'm in the legacy part of my life, and I want over the next 3 or 4 years to get to millions of families. We have parents in the community from over 60 countries around the world, about 40,000 total. I think 41,000. So I'm on this mission, and so it feels very similar to what you're doing when we're taking those that are considered low class, low income, whatever you want to call it. There is so much potential, but the challenge that I'm having, and it's not that hard to overcome once we get to them, is changing their beliefs. They're told they can't do it. They're told they're victims. No, you're not. You can start anywhere and go everywhere. And that's why I love what you say on your website, invisible to unstoppable. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I just love that you're in the world, doing this.
Wonderful. I am inspired by you. What you just said. You are doing something. Your own effort. Um, I don't know how many people are working with you together. Whether it's one man.
We have a team, Dr. George. We're building. I think we'll be able to, even though we have tens of thousands now in sort of the free community, and we have more and more in our intense communities that we meet with. We have virtual communities, and we also have in-person communities that I lead and other coaches around the country and Canada lead. But I want to take this, I want to get to 1 million families and then get to 10 million families. And there's so many synergies between what you're doing and what we're doing. So there's probably a way to work together. And sometime next year, I want to include you in my philanthropic giving to help with your mission going forward, because we're completely aligned.
Amazing, amazing. You are very ambitious. Your numbers are very large. If you are able to get anywhere close to those numbers, this is a tremendous contribution. And I want to express my admiration for what you're doing. Uh, in my case, um, because of the environment environment from which they come, uh, the parents are uneducated, totally uneducated. They hand over the kid to us and say, uh, you know, we want to see our kids for a couple of months in a year, but we are literally giving you a child, you know, and they don't want to interfere in anything we do. So as a result, I and my team of people, now 120 people who work with me, we are able to mold the kid the way we feel they should be to achieve success. And if I can just touch upon two things, and that is excellent education and care, that's one. But there is another element to this, and that is your love for them. The child has to feel that you really care. Uh, Otherwise, it just doesn't work. They will not be motivated, and they should want to disappoint you. And that is a tremendous motivation. The child wanting to succeed for uh, making me happy, what a good feeling. So, uh, these are the two. If somebody asks me to summarize everything I do, what's the success reason behind it, and these are the two things.
Well, the selfish reason that I do this is because the kids are going to be running the world that I age out in, and I want it to be amazing. So this is kind of a long game, and I think everybody does what's in their own best self-interest, but it can be win-win or it can be win-lose, and I choose to stay on the win-win side. And so I do all this so it is a better world to interact with, travel around in. Yeah.
Don't you have hurdles, the government coming in the way and things like that, or school systems coming in your way?
Well, the reason that I'm coming in from outside the school system is because I think it's kind of broken. There's a lot of conflicts of interest, a lot of corruption.
Right,
And as I said, there's a lot of money going into education, and there's a lot of adults fighting over who gets it. But I look at it through a really simple lens. I think the role of government is to create better conditions for the citizenry to work, live, learn, and play at a lowering relative cost over time. So I
right,
can look at anything. If I just take education, more money every year goes into it, and the results keep going down. So it's not working. And I believe the reason it's not working is we don't have enough leaders in the system that are both capable and moral,
right.
capable of doing that job and making really solid win-win moral decisions in everything that they do. And so I'm coming at it from outside the system. I don't really care what's going on in the school. That said, the schools that we're working with, because K-12 schools, we're finding can be really good partners for us. We're
Right, right.
all the families to meet go through this curriculum, and so our content development team is writing lesson plans that they can put in by grade level around all these concepts of creating value for the family, for the individual, how they launch into adulthood, et cetera.
Amazing. If you are able to attract a handful of really caring, driven people like you will succeed. That is my assumption. I have lots of people working with me, but those 5 or 6 people drive a lot of things. And that might be true for you too, if you have that handful of people who are driven and they have the heart.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. My background, which you don't know, I've started 8 different companies from scratch. I've sold one for well into 9 figures, one for 8 figures, one for 7. I'm still running a couple of companies now. I love being in the game and creating value, and I want to use this money that's being generated to drive these kinds of programs and find people that are super passionate about it. When you think about there's a couple of things that came to mind, questions when I was watching Daughters of Destiny. When you think about these kids making the transition, how difficult is it for them to break away and go into this amazing future for themselves and not being pulled back into the family? What's that like on average for all the students?
Okay. Um, the education they have had and upbringing they have had, we give them a lot of self confidence and self esteem. They no longer believe they came from a poor family or a low caste. So that is a constant effort right from the age of 4. We want them to believe they are beautiful children. They are capable. They fit in with any society. I take them to 5-star hotels and I show them what it is like and have lunch with them and things like that to give them that self confidence. And second thing that I notice is a lot of American companies who they're all here in this area. They have um, a certain uh, mission, that is to help the underclass. That may not be very true of Indian companies, but maybe there is. But the American companies, or for that matter, European companies too, they want children from poor homes to have that opportunity. So it is not very difficult for us to um, uh, tell our story to them. But I say, don't look at them as poor children. They are smart. Take them only if they are good for you. But that little heart they have for the kids, because they are from the bottom of society, it helps us too in getting that initial job. Once they get it, for example, ExxonMobil has 4 children, Microsoft 3 kids, Morgan Stanley, Morgan Guaranty, Ernst and Young had 10 kids, and so they take them because they're good, and uh, and get them through the door. That's all we need to do. After they get in, they prove themselves.
Well, I see all of them as just untapped potential, and you're creating the environment from which they realize that, and they go out in the world with drive. That's amazing. You take them 3.5 to 4 years old. Have you tried bringing in students that are older, or was it just the model from day one? And why that age?
We cannot make that transformation in their outlook and their way they uh, think, their habits, lot of factors, their values, their globally shared values of honesty. All these things we are trying to teach them. If you take them too late, it's very difficult to change them. But if you get them at that age of, say, 4, it is much, much easier to bring them up. That's why we stick to 4. Some people say even 4 is too late.
So that's super interesting. Those things can be solidified by that age to the point where it becomes more difficult to change from 5 on.
Right, exactly. After 10, it's difficult, very difficult.
Yeah, I'm finding because I get to work closely with a lot of families, a lot of kids from very young, 3, 4 years old, up to 16, 17 years old when they come into this program. And I can't just say, okay, all of you over 4, you're done. We can't help you, but we can help the other one. So I have to do something for all of them. And so I just keep planting seeds and talking about creating value and asking them, when you become an adult, how would you like to show up? Would you like to be financially independent and self-reliant, or do you want to be dependent on family or government? And questions like that get them to say, no, I want to be self-reliant. Okay, well, what does that look like, and how do we earn that, and how do we position ourselves for it? And the older kids, to your point, some of them want nothing to do with any of this, but the families are still coming and they're there when they come in, and then 6 months, 8 months later, they're owning all of it. And so it's kind of fun for me just managing expectations to plant seeds and watch how they change. And it gives me a lot of hope. Like, this is really cool. Let's keep this moving.
Right. I could see that your technique of motivating them is somewhat different from mine. Mine is from the ground up, and in some ways it's much easier for me because I got them very early. For you, you have to change their mindset too. And if they come from families that are dysfunctional, drug users, and violence at home, it's very, very difficult. We have two. Most of our fathers are drunkards. Actually, 7% of our children don't have fathers. Uh, and the ones who have fathers, uh, they are into drinking and violence. So we cannot send them home for very long. They get affected. The 2 months they are home, they undo many things we teach them. So it's a struggle, constant struggle. I mean, I hate to say this about families, but that is the reality of it. And when they are uneducated on top of that, how do you make them understand? people don't even realize, the parents don't even realize the potential in their own children. We tell them they will work for Microsoft and so on. They have no clue what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, had family members in and out of prison, some for really bad things. I never knew my natural father. My stepdad was my dad, but they couldn't. It occurred to me early in high school. They can't. They're struggling raising themselves, let alone 5 kids. And that really helped me so I wouldn't take it personal. And by the time I was kicked out of the house at the beginning of my senior year in high school, I was 17. I was already financially independent. There was no issue getting an apartment. Um, but what was different, and for me, and you've talked about economic opportunity. Very early, I started doing work outside the family and friends. Like pulling weeds, mowing lawns, doing all of that. And that really built self-esteem and confidence in me. And I felt like that whole world and this economic opportunity for me that eventually turned into 8 companies and it's still going, I could trust that. Like I couldn't trust what was going on in the home. So speak to that a little bit about how important economic opportunity is in transforming these kids' lives.
Uh, Economic opportunity is critical for our children, without which they can't break the social discrimination barriers they face. The path to their breaking that the social discrimination is their own success, and they see that. We we are constantly telling them that when you become very successful as a businessman, or you have a great job in a great company, uh, you not only earn a lot of money, but you will be in a different social circle. And then you will be able to do the kind of things you can do with the money that you make. And your parents, it's not possible for them to fit into the modern society. They are uncomfortable. They would rather live in that, socioeconomic background. Maybe they want food, they want clothing, they want a house which doesn't leak, all that they want, but they have no desire to move with people from the upper society. So you forget about doing anything like that for them. Dignity is something they are not craving for. As long as someone treats them well, that's fine. Beyond that, they don't need. But you and your children, it's very different. And you have to uh, be with the modern society, and bring up your children in good schools. So the economic opportunity is critical to them to break the years of vicious cycle of poverty and indignity they have suffered.
Yeah, the economic opportunity, earning money on your own, really trading value. It's so powerful in this whole equation that we have here. And it's interesting, that you're seeing that and you're driving that as well. I'm not sure a lot of folks see the power of that in encouraging it. I see a lot of parents in the United States taking struggles away from their kids, giving them whatever they want, and not setting them up for this type of success. To be capable as an adult to earn their own money and do all that. So it's totally different from what you're dealing with, but it's interesting. I wish we could drill into that more for families so they would understand it. Getting kids to build momentum on the material value creation side, earning money, to help the family, help themselves.
Yeah, there's no doubt in their minds that money is essential, because they see that all the time. So I have no problem in explaining to them that money is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And but how you use it is the key. And it's not just simply making a lot of money. There must be a purpose for it. What is that purpose? And I just finished a book which will be published in January of this coming year, and it's called Mountains to Cross. Uh, I meant obstacles to overcome. Mountains to Cross is about finding life's purpose through service. Because a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know, they have made tons of money, but they are struggling to find a source of joy, a source of lasting happiness, and a purpose in their lives. And that's what I tell them, the children. You must find a purpose in your acquiring money. Live well, live comfortably, but at the same time, have a heart for those who don't have that opportunity. So I talk about not giving money or dishing out money, but creating opportunity for other children. That is my model. Education is the tool that I see. So you give good education to other children. Don't dish out money, feed poor people. Yeah, that is another program. But my model is through education. And if you do that for other children, then you will see great success, and that's going to bring you a lot of happiness, and you will find purpose in your life.
Yeah, and it has to be the right education. All education is not created equal, and I love what you're doing because it's about life skills and developing a passion and purpose and drive and good character and all of it. And a lot of nonprofit giving, there's a ton of money going out into the world, and it's not really having a positive impact. And I think that could be part of it. I have a lot of friends that are quite wealthy and they give money and they show up to the big dinners, but I look at the organizations and I go, it's really not having the impact that they say they will, but they feel good because they gave. I'm always encouraging folks to lean in wherever you want to contribute to make sure you're actually getting the impact. So everything that I give to, I get involved with to make sure it's not just here's a bunch of money and feel good from it. Um, to talk about developing purpose. So people want to give and make a difference and find purpose in combination with that. How do you develop purpose in the kids? I mean, just saying you need to develop purpose. What's your process? What's your advice for coming up with it? You have a solid purpose. I feel really solid in my purpose in the world. What's your advice on helping, kids as well as adults develop that?
Right. Um, I want them to think from a very young age what they want to accomplish in life. It's one thing to say, I want a lot of money, I want to have luxuries and so on. But do you have a burning desire to reach out to others? I ask them to think about it. And that thought process will come only when you are trained to value other people's feelings, other people's predicament, other people's hardship, other people's suffering. You have to develop an empathy for that. You have to have compassion for it, and you must develop a desire to transform their lives, not always think about yours. So I spent a great deal of time talking to them, explaining, telling my own story. And I tell them, even compassion is not good enough unless you are willing to act on it. Compassion in action is my word. If you need to act on your compassion, there is some purpose. Then you will find purpose. But you just feeling sorry for another or feeling empathy for another, that doesn't do anything for the other person. Always think about the other person. So I teach them how to feel for another person. The second important thing is you have to be always prepared for doing good. For example, just give you a little example. When I go in my car to the city, I know every other red light I stop, some person begging for a little food or a little money, or a mother in ragged clothes carrying a little 1-year-old baby on a hip and asking for something to give a little milk, right? Lot of people would say, I don't have any money in my pocket to give you, or I don't have any change. That's not good enough. You have to go prepared. So I tell my staff, leave some 20 rupees note. 20 rupees is nothing, hardly 30 cents. But in India, 20 rupees will buy you a breakfast. So I asked them to keep a few notes like that. So you have to go prepared to help. Just saying that I don't have anything is not good enough. So those types of these are just two examples. Those types of training is needed from a young age to think about the other person's predicament and willing to act on it. And third, being prepared to act on it. All those things have to be there. If they are not there, you won't do anything. You will have excuses, nothing more than that.
Yeah. And how we feel going through life to me is everything. And having a purpose that really does serve others and makes the world better for all of us. Uh, that I think that's really the key. I loved everything you said about that and developing purpose. As we start wrapping up here, coming up on the hour, what else would you like to tell our listeners about? Did we miss anything in this conversation that you'd like to convey?
I think you touched upon some of those things. I think each person, must have an ambition to do well in life. There's no question about that. And education is an essential thing. And uh, and second, uh, I feel that parents have a responsibility to teach them beyond things like good communication skills or leadership skills. Teach them some good values: being honest, being humble, be caring. If you hear about famine in Ethiopia, tell your kid, why don't you skip your evening snack, and put that 25 or $1 in a piggy bank? And at the end of a few months, let's send that money. I did that, and my kids were so happy they were able to send $50. Okay, uh, what they saved, it had a big impact on them. They didn't realize the value of $50. It's not much, right? So uh, you have to train them, and don't spend all your time trying to teach them communication skills and leadership skills. They are essential, but teach them to be better human beings. That and the best way to teach them to be best good human beings is caring for another person. That's my second advice. And third advice I have is, in my case, I divided my life into two parts. First part was making money. Second part was using that money. So before I reached the age of 50, I sold everything and I started on it. Okay, on what I'm doing today. So I call it 50-50 plan. Half 50, not necessarily 50 years, but half and half. Uh, and if you do that and you set aside enough money to live well, that's all fine. But if you can plan something with your life rather than always chasing money, and before you know, you're too old to even enjoy it. Here, you will have great friendships. People will love you, and you get attached to people whom you would have never met before. So there are many, many intangibles that you will acquire in the process. So that's another advice. Don't always think that you're going to find joy and happiness from using the money for yourself. You will find greater happiness in using some of that money, a good part of that money, to improve the lives of other people.
That's incredible advice. Thank you. And if our listeners want to learn more about you, where do you recommend they go, Dr. George?
Very easy, very easy. I have a very easy name, right? Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. So just Just type Abraham George on Google. You'll hit a lot of sites, and Shanti Bhavan is one of them. Daughters of Destiny is another. So you can then communicate with us. I don't need to give you websites and so on. You will find the website. Just type my name and or watch as you did Daughters of Destiny. You'll really learn about the lives of poor people and how the children have transformed their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go to do the search or go to drabrahamgeorge.com and you'll find everything there. I've gone through the website as well.
Oh,
So
that's a true website. Lee, you don't have to go there, but it's there. There are just Abraham George will take you there too.
yeah, 100%. And so this has to have done so much for you because you look and act and sound so much younger than your age. So this has to have helped with all of that. This is an amazing journey. What's the biggest thing that's changed about you?
Biggest thing that changed?
This mission has changed in you. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good question that somebody else of ABC News asked me. I know your children love you, but what have you discovered about yourself? And it took me a few seconds to answer that. And the answer is, I didn't know. I didn't know until I thought about it that I'm capable of loving other children, other people's children, just as much as I love my own. That's my greatest discovery. I love my kids. In this conversation, I never used the word student. If you noticed, I said my children. They are my children. And I realized that I can love them just as much as I love my own.
Yeah. It is as though you're raising hundreds of kids constantly. That's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
How many, I forgot to ask this, but how many total students have been through the program now, approximately?
So far, something close to 1,200 or so.
Okay. Yeah. And that ripple effect, again, tens of thousands of people it's impacting. So
Right.
nice work.
With other programs, like you said, lead poisoning, farm projects for empowering poor women, hospital, we do number of different things. They all combine 10,000, 20,000 people in the villages have been benefited by all those programs. But Shanti Bhavan School is not a numbers game. It is a qualitative difference, and they multiplying the effect. As opposed to lead poisoning, I could argue that it helped hundreds of millions of people by from gasoline. And for a very small fraction of the money I spent on the school. So, everything is different. But did I get the same level of satisfaction? No, I didn't. I don't know who is breathing unleaded gasoline.
Yeah. Well, Dr. George, thank you so much. This has been an honor having this conversation with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much. I enjoyed our conversation. You asked some wonderful questions, made me think of my own actions.
All right. Well, thank you again. And this has been the Show Your Value podcast. If you got some value out of today's episode, please like and subscribe. And if you have a biggest takeaway, leave that as well. And until next time, show your value to the world.